Today's call is who's leading these guys anyway? And the real question about who's leading the guys is not the people who are doing the job currently. The real question is about who's leading them. Is it you today over some period of time where changes have occurred in your outlook, in your beliefs, in your attitude? Has time kind of worn you down where it's sort of time to make the donuts? And if you would, I would ask that everybody take a minute to try and remember what it was like when you were very first promoted to a service manager, a service director, any type of manager in this industry. The first time you were promoted to that. The feelings that we tend to think back on, there's a joy and a happiness, and there's also a pride and a sense of responsibility in that you're going to help these people succeed. That's not only your job, that's part of your mission in life, and it's vitally important to you to help these people succeed. So when I ask who's leading this bunch anyway, I know more managers, myself having been one included, that every once in a while we need a little bit of checkup to figure out who's leading these guys. When was the last time you sat down with them one-on-one? How are they doing? What are their goals? How is their training doing throughout the course of the year? Are we going to not manage them and let them wait until November or December when all the pressure's on to get the training done again and they're miserable and we're miserable? Or are we going to check in with them frequently throughout the year? How are you doing? How's your training going? Hey, what's your pace of income this year? What do you on track for? As we discussed last week, how many hours a week are you turning? Do you have any suggestions that might help you turn more hours a week or help us be more productive? What about me? How am I doing for you? It's important to take the time to ask those questions because self-discovery, especially in the auto industry where we don't have a lot of support, we don't have a lot of management training that's available to us. Without companies or people or experts that you can bring in, it's very difficult to move further in this industry. Typically, the way we do is incrementally and painfully. Our dealer goes to a 20 group. They realize that there are 3-4 areas that we're very deficient in compared to someone else. And having been a dealer, I can honestly tell you that of the 4 that you're deficient in, maybe 2 of them are accounting issues for us and how we account for things, or accounting issues in favor of someone else as to how they look good. But I really want you to try and take a little bit of time today at some point in your busy schedule and remember what it was like to be new. Remember that excitement, because you can discover that again. You can bring that to your people. And frankly, we owe it to them. We owe it to them to be there for them, to want to help them grow. And that passion that we had in the beginning, we need to reignite that passion again. My writers, I don't want to go out and say, do we have any complaints today? Did everyone pay their bill? Any cars fall off a lift? You think we're going to get out on time? Is anyone not going to get their car fixed on time? I don't want to go out and ask them the questions that they hear every day or they think about. I want to go out and ask them some different questions. How are you doing? How's your family doing? How's your production been this month so far? What do you think I can do to help you? Give them an extra half hour at lunch one day. Just tell them, take an extra half hour. Let me cover for you. Let them leave 15 or 20 minutes earlier. Hey, if you're pretty well wrapped up, why don't you go home 20 minutes early? We all know what it feels like to be able to get home 20 minutes early from work or 30 minutes early. It's a big bonus. Time is critical. We can waste time, invest time, spend time, pass time, but the one thing we can't do with time is get it back. And we sell time in this business, and it's supposed to be so vitally important to us, and yet I think that we become a little jaded and we lose our own focus as to what time means. So if you want to help your people recover, some excitement, some joy for their work, then recover it for yourself first, because you're the one leading that bunch anyway. And when I go back and I talk to technicians, what are you on pace for? I see guys, when I walk into dealerships and I'm doing some type of consulting or training work with Fixed Performance, if I walk back there and I happen to see that someone has 3 pictures of their kids in their toolbox, and they look like current pictures, not pictures from 4.5 years ago, if they look like current pictures, I'll ask some questions about it. If you made another $5,000 this year, what would you do? Well, I'd take them to Disney. Well, how many hours would that take? How many hours are you turning now? Well, why don't you set a goal to do that? Well, why don't you go tell your manager you're setting that goal? Have him help you manage to that. Do you think you have a more motivated, happier employee if he's working towards something that's a good goal for him, for his family, and won't you feel satisfaction if he gets there? So I just wanted to remind you today, and not take a lot of your time. I try and limit all of these calls to less than 15 minutes so that if anyone has a question or a point they want to make, they can. But I just wanted to make sure that I remind you today about the, kind of that, when you have an old dog is easy to manage because they don't do much, but they don't do much. And you get a puppy and they're so full of energy and crazy and bouncing off the walls that they're fun. And then there are times they're frustrating because you got to do a lot more management and care for those puppies, But they're a lot of fun to watch grow. And when they're older, you remember when they were little and they chewed the leg off the chair. And it seems funny now, maybe not so funny then. But you want to make sure that you bring that joy back to your people. And so when I ask who's managing this group anyway or who's leading this group anyway, which person is it? You're the only person that can answer that question. Which person is it? And better yet, what person do you want to be leading them? You make that decision, and literally from the moment you make that decision, you can carry that decision forward. So, Mike, if you want to open up in case anyone's got any questions, and then I will let these fine folks get on with the rest of their day if they have some questions.
The lines are completely open, everyone.
Oh, if you want to bring the puppy back, bring a chew toy in and start chewing it in your office. Not that it will ever help anything, but it just really makes people think that maybe you've lost your mind.
Hey, Paul, I have a question.
Go ahead.
If we have, if I'm a service manager in a facility that I've been here for a long time and I'm having a hard time getting a hold of, getting control of technicians, I notice, a lot of times if we let them, the techs will get out of control and start running the shop. Do you have anything to say about that or any advice for a manager that's been in the shop for a while with the same guys for a long time, how to jump in and take control?
Yeah, the first thing you don't try and do is fight them all at once because there's a heck of a lot more of them than there is of you. I break them down into smaller groups. And I bring them in and I refocus them by saying, okay, here's where we're at. Here's where I want to be. How can we get there? Now, you are fully expecting that they are going to inevitably start with a BMC session, a bitch, moan, complaint session. If the world would only listen to me, everything would be okay. Well, to keep them away from that, you just go in there and say, look, here's where we're at. What do you think we're capable of? And what I do is through one-on-ones, I ask them what I think they're capable of and how I can help them get there. Most people will not tell you that they're already at their maximum potential. And I ask them, how much time do you spend walking and waiting? How much time do you spend on smoke breaks? How much time do you spend on personal phone calls? And I'm not trying to indict them. I'm trying to get them to see that the answers are usually within those same 4 walls. And I've had lots of shops where the techs have control, and there's a couple strategies. I mean, one of which is scorched earth. You just stand your ground and tell them this is the way it's going to be, but, you're going to lose a couple, and it's an unhappy workplace for a period of time until you get control. So, I make them part of the solution, and I don't make them the problem, because after all, we're the ones that let it get away from us. And subtly introduce new guidelines, new rules, but things that are common sense, that are easy. If they get control and you got people constantly being late, you might want to adapt this little trick, if you will, but it's not a trick. It's a way to run every business, every family, everything. You tell them you only have one rule: do the right thing. It's the only rule you have. And for techs to get control, they tend not to be doing the right things. They tend to be argumentative with your advisors. They tend to want to turn down work. They tend to want to stop working at 4:10 so they can be out at 5:01. They tend not to want to do used cars or certain warranty work. Well, that's not the right thing to do. So I ask people, is that the right thing to do? Say, hey, we only have one rule here. It's real easy to remember. Just do the right thing. And if you can get people, enough of them doing the right thing and enough of them on board, it's an amazing thing what peer pressure does. It's a 20-80 rule. You can have 20% of the techs influencing the other 80. But if you start to influence the majority of that 80, those other 20 will start to quiet down. So again, it's kind of through one-on-ones and then small groups, and I just attack it, that way rather than trying to make big declarations and alienating your people. Anybody else have any questions? All right, Mikey, I appreciate you coordinating all this. Thank you very much, all of you, for attending. I appreciate it. And, Mike, you have a great day, my friend.
All right, thanks again, Paul.